Today we're talking about 5 keys to training during an ammo shortage, so let's get to it. Given the situation of the industry and how hard it is for so many people to come across ammo, I thought it was really important to talk about how to train when you have limitations, or in this case, during an ammo shortage. So the first one, number one, is embrace limitations. So many of us have limitations, and that could be a multitude of things. It could be the range that you're at doesn't allow you to move around, or you may have a short amount of time to train during the week, or whenever you get out on range. But in this case, for most of us, it's an ammo shortage. So that's the limitation that we all have to kind of work around. We can't ignore the fact this is the reality. We don't know when ammo is going to be readily available like it was at the beginning of the year or last year. When we embrace our limitations or restrictions, whatever they may be, it actually gives us the opportunity to be more creative with our training, to find new ways to train skill sets or things that we want to achieve so that we can continue to progress as shooters. The next step is going to be for us to create a plan. Now, our plan is just a course of action to help us achieve desired goals. And you may already have goals that you have set up or have set aside that you've been working on. And maybe you're kind of getting into shooting because of everything that's going on, and so you don't really have goals. So I would recommend that if you don't have goals, to set a baseline. Do some sort of drill or test. One thing I do for handgun is dot torture, and that is a great baseline to test a multitude of skill sets or a multitude of aspects of shooting so that you can kind of see where you're at and know areas where you need to improve. So I'm going to show you guys kind of my plan from one of my most recent range days. And I actually went out and I crashed somebody else's range day. I heard they were going to be out shooting. I said, you know what, I'm going to go out and go shoot with these guys. And I had set aside a plan, and I knew there were certain things that I wanted to work on. Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't been dry firing as much as I should. So I knew I needed to kind of check to see where I was at, do a quick analysis of where I'm at shooting wise and things I need to work on. So I ran dot torture, and that was for me to just get a baseline to see and go, okay, so here's where I'm at. Here are the things I need to work on. So if you look at mine, now you can't really read this that well because my handwriting is terrible, but I ran dot torture. Dot torture has a set round count, so I knew how many rounds that was. I was going to run Brandon's drill, and I set the number of times I was going to run it. And so each, the round count for each one of those. And then right here, you'll see total round count for those 2 drills. And that was just pistol. I also wanted to work on rifle, check on a few things. So you'll see that I've set out a few drills here, and then it's got any specs or anything that I need to know for those and how many times I'm going to run it. And then next to that, again, you'll see round count. So I've got total round count of rounds that I'd be shooting that day. And this was my plan for the day. It's a super simple, super basic plan for the day. And this is just to help me stay on track. I think that the days of running, 10 or 15 build drills at a range day are kind of out the window, or when we're just doing magnums at the end of range days, because 9mm itself is so expensive. I think right now I found steel ammo for 50 cents a round. It's crazy. And there's a local store that was trying to sell 9mm for $1 a round. And I'm like, this is insane. So it's not feasible. It's not responsible for us to just burn through ammo like that. We need to make the most of every rep. So a plan helps us do that. A plan helps us stay on track and know what we're working on and what the goal for that day is. A quick side note, I will say, don't feel like you have to work on everything at every range day. Isolate, find something specific. Are you working on trigger reset? Are you working on recoil management? Are you working on target transitions? Now you can pick more than one of those, but to try to work on all of those on a given range day, you're going to be out there all day and you're going to blow through your ammo. Now, having that set round count, one thing that I would recommend is if you're working off of limited ammo and you want to only shoot that amount of ammo, only take your amount of round counts with you to the range. Don't take your full ammo can, because the tendency is we would mess up a drill, or somebody would come out and be like, hey, run this. And then we just burn through a bunch of rounds. Before we know it, we've shot 50 or 150 rounds without even noticing. So to avoid doing that, stick to your plan, only have so many rounds with you that line up with the plan that you've set and the round count that you've set with that. Now, something that if you're running certain drills, say you're running target transitions, or you're trying to get your draw times down to sub-second or sub 1.5, whatever your goal is. If you have goal times, write those down and then keep track of your times. And I say this because time is relative to the shooter. Don't feel like you have to speed up in order to achieve something that some Instagram shooter is doing. That's cool, and it's great for us to compare and to see where we stand against other shooters, but it's relative to the shooter because there's so many variables, right? We're shooting different guns. We're at different stages in our shooting careers. We're shooting at different distances. We have different ideas of what accuracy is for that given drill. So there's too many variables. So your standards are your standards, right? This is for you. We're not training for Instagram. We're training for real life. And we can just look at what's going on in the US and know that at any given day, our number may be called, right? So we may be called upon to protect ourselves, protect somebody else, defend ourselves, whatever it may be. And so we're training for that. The third part, and I think one of the most important things, is be disciplined in your training. Stick to your plan. Don't veer off from it and go after and do other things and just start winging it while you're out there. Don't create a plan and then just go, you know what, that went well, I'm gonna do this. Or, oh, that didn't do great, so I wanna skip all this and do that. No, be disciplined in your training. We're playing the long game. We're not trying to be the best shooter today. We're trying to be a better shooter tomorrow. We're looking at the long game, trying to get a little bit better every day. For example, again, looking at big sports, major sports, professional athletes, and looking at how they are disciplined in their training every day. So they have their set training camp. They go through 2 trainings a day. They have their times where they go see physios to make sure that everything's getting taken care of. They do their own individual training on their own, but they have a disciplined and specific plan to make sure they get to where they need to be by the time the season starts. So if you're a competitive shooter or whatever it is, or you're just wanting to get better, again, this goes back to whatever your goals are. We are going to be disciplined in our training to help us get there. You can't just skip around. There's no easy way around it. You've got to put in the time and the work, but it starts with being disciplined and staying on track with the plan. Don't confuse being disciplined with being rigid. And what I mean by that is we want to experiment and try new things, but we want to program those things into our plan, right? So if I know I'm going to try a new way of gripping the gun, or I'm going to try a different way of trigger reset, or a different reload style, whatever it is, I'm experimenting with a new technique, but I'm programming that into my planning so that I have time to try and actually be analytical about it to see, is this actually better? Is this actually faster? Which leads us to the next step, which is analyze every shot. We've got to be analytical of our training. We've got to look at every shot, every trigger press, every trigger reset, recoil, watching our sights. We've got to be analytical and know what's going on every time we press that trigger, right? And again, this goes back to, we're training for real life, not for Instagram, because whether that's competition or self-defense, it doesn't matter. We need to be able to be accountable for our rounds, either way. So it's really important to be analytical of things like sight picture. And did we have a clear sight picture when we pressed that trigger? Being analytical about our trigger reset, analytical about our grip, our recoil management. Did we, jerk the gun? Did we try to push the gun back on target? Whatever it may be, we want to be as analytical as possible, be as honest with ourselves as possible so that we can improve. Because as we're, we only have so many reps, right? If we're only shooting 40 rounds, it's much easier to keep track of those 40 rounds than it is if I were shooting 250 or 500 or even 1,000 rounds on a given range day. I wouldn't be able to keep track of all those rounds. I might remember a couple of drills, but I probably won't remember all of them. So for example, I'll tell you, we doing the dot torture, there was times during the dot torture, I knew when I had pushed a shot. Doing weak hand, I knew immediately I had pushed a shot. On the target transitions when I was doing reloads, I realized that one of the issues that I have, because I haven't been dry firing, is presenting out to target and getting my sights. And so I was kind of out running my headlights a couple of times. You'll see a ladder drill that I did with rifle. And there was one station on that ladder drill where I knew, and I called it. I said, those 2 shots were off to the right. And we get to the target, and they were off to the right. And so that, for me, that was because I was analyzing as I was shooting. I knew what I did wrong, and immediately I knew where I'd missed. So for us, as we analyze our shots, it helps us to go, okay, here's the things I need to work on so that long-term we can create a bigger plan. It's important for us to not just shoot aimlessly. Don't just go through the motions of doing this, but to understand why things went right and why things went wrong. To be analytical of what we do. When we're disciplined and we're analytical of our shots, that leads to efficiency in our training. And that's going to be really important for us because we are limited on resources, whether that's time, ammo, whatever, like we talked about earlier. We want to be as efficient as possible within the limitations that we have. We use all that information that we gain, that we gather to create this larger plan. Because we can go from a range day, so I ran dot torture and I looked at it and I saw and I knew the things that I needed to work on. So for me, that helps me create a dry fire plan to work on those things. And the biggest thing that I need to work on is presentation, just getting my sights on target so that I'm not looking for them when I get out. So that those are all things that I can work on. The thing that I can't work on is recoil management. That's the one thing I can't work on in dry fire. That's got to be on range. But the more that I work on those other things during dry fire, the easier it makes it when I get out on range. And then I've only got to focus on recoil management because I know my sight picture is right. I know that I'm resetting properly. I know that my grip is where I want it to be. I know that my reloads are where they want to be. So I don't have to worry about all these variables. It allows me to narrow down and isolate and focus on one thing when I'm on range, or 2 things, whatever it may be. So that's to say we need to create a bigger plan, right? This isn't just a one-day plan. This is just step one. Okay, from that, we take information, we build out a plan to dry fire during the week, whether that's, a few minutes every day, or, maybe you only have time for a couple days out of the week. Whatever it is, you create a plan specific for you to help you achieve your goals. And then when you got to the next day, you do the same thing. You have a set plan for the range day. What's your round count? You're analytical of it. And then again, it creates this cycle, and you have your own training plan so that you're improving as a shooter. And then as a part of that, you incorporate, as you go to courses and you have outside eyes or outside people helping you to analyze your shooting and get better as a shooter. And you take all that information and you put it into play and you just keep going. It creates this cycle, and that's how you become a better shooter. And so this is something that we can carry forward even outside of, this ammo shortage, whenever that may be. But it's to help us be better shooters. That's the end goal, right? We just want to be better shooters, and this is to help us do that. So quick bonus tip is start an OnlyFans. I'm kidding. Don't start an OnlyFans. I mean, you can if you want to. I'm not telling you shouldn't. But what I mean by that is record yourself shooting. So you'll see in here, I've recorded myself shooting, and I was talking with Don with Milspec Mojo. We were discussing training and all these things in the video and filming. But one of the things he said was, he's like, I filmed so much footage that never makes the light of day. Like, nobody ever sees it, because it's for him just to analyze his shooting to get better as a shooter. It's not about doing it for Instagram. It's just for him to look at and go, okay, oh, I see what I did wrong there. I had a poor grip, or that reload was sloppy, or I can see how the recoil was off on that. So all those things, it's just for him to look at. So record yourself shooting. Just because you record it doesn't mean you have to post it. You can if you want to. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying that don't feel like you have to record yourself for the sake of looking cool, but use that tool that you have at your fingertips to help you be better, because you can't see yourself while you're shooting the way somebody else does. And being able to film yourself gives you that opportunity and that ability to be analytical, to go back and watch and see the things that you've done wrong. And then over time, you'll have this kind of catalog to see how your shooting has progressed and see how you've done. In the same way that I keep this booklet that has all my range day drills and stuff in there, and like I can keep track of my times, I can go through and see how I've progressed as a shooter, how I've gotten faster at certain things, or how I've gotten worse at certain things. I can see where the training has worked, or maybe it hasn't worked, and I need to go to somebody else and be like, hey, how can I fix this? Because I've tried this, this, and this, and it didn't work. And then they can then say, hey, well, maybe you should try this. So that's it. That's your 5 tips, 6, I guess, if you count the bonus one, to help you be more efficient as a shooter during an ammo shortage. So I know we're all trying to get better. We're doing what we can. But do me a favor, if you guys know of an ammo plug, leave it in the comments below. Help a brother out, but help out the rest of the community. If you know somewhere that has ammo and they're not limiting rounds, or it's a decent price, put it down below so that we can go check it out and buy it all up. Also, if you've got other tips on ways people can be more effective in their training during ammo shortage, leave those down below as well. If you haven't already, make sure you karate chop that bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. If you stuck around this long and you were paying attention, you see that right there, hat restock. So by the time this video goes live, hats will have been restocked on my website, jimsgoonlife.com/shop store. I don't know, I'll put it right here. Hats are back in stock. Go buy one. It's the best way to support the channel. Helps me out, helps keep this stuff going, helps me pay for stuff to get for reviews and all that. I don't have a Patreon, I'm not sponsored, so help a brother out. But yeah, so for those of you who've been asking about hats, back in stock. I should have plenty. Got more stuff coming for you guys. Thank you again for all your support. Yeah, see you guys later. Have a good rest of the week.